recording and things.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I'm so happy to have you back on the Gestalt Get-Together. Hello to all of our live attendees. What a great audience we have right now. Before I introduce our guests for tonight, I'm so excited. I haven't had caregivers on in a long time. Before I bring them on, just want to make sure if you are joining live, we want to make sure you get credit for attending. So stick around until the end. Make sure you take your quiz before the end of the day so you can get credit. We're coming up at the end of the year. So make sure you have all your CEUs. Thank you so much for getting some of your CEUs with me. It means a lot. Other things I want to share. If you are going to ASHA this year in Washington, D.C., I hope to see you there. I'm going to be presenting Thursday afternoon. I'm going to be talking about using rhythmic strategies to help with autistic language acquisition. So come to my talk, but if you are not available for that or going to a different presentation, you can find me at the Speech Therapy PD booth on Friday from 3 to 4 to do a meet and greet. We can chit chat, take a little picture, and please come with a burning question about Gestalt processing or music so I can coach you live in the moment. And if you come meet me at the booth, you're going to get a special promo code discount on my upcoming book and online course that I'm putting together. It's called The Playful Pivot. I'm putting the finishing touches on it, and it's my framework for how to expand play skills in stage 2 plus GLPs. I've created a framework of my 7 categories of what I call play stretches. We're actually going to talk about that tonight with my guests, some of the play stretches that I've taught them. Identifying these, it can really transform how you connect with stage 2 plus GLPs in play, and connect with them with less of that rejection, a lot more joy. If you're interested in learning more, definitely follow me on Instagram, and that's at crescendo.communication. Okay, let's get to the good stuff. My guests tonight are really wonderful caregivers of a Gestalt Language Processor. We're going to be talking a lot about special interests this evening, because those have truly been the portal through which this child and his family have seen a lot of success. So welcome to the podcast to Julie and Tony. If you guys want to jump on. All right, welcome
Hi.
back.
Good. Hey, how you doing?
Good, so glad to have you. We have an audience of a lot of speech language pathologists who are eager to learn more about Gestalt language processing. And therapists were also looking to hear from the caregiver perspective, because on our side of the table, we've got a lot of strategies and ideas, but I think it's really valuable to hear about, like, what's it actually like to hear these ideas about your child. So let's zoom out and go back. Tell us about what this process has been like, and when did you first hear about Gestalt processing?
It's hard to believe it's already been a few years ago, but we mostly saw a big difference in our son's development after he was 2 or 3. Like, we noticed that his language wasn't progressing at the same pace that others around his age were. And so that's when I didn't really hear any good answers. I didn't really get a lot of recommendations. We were put on wait lists, for diagnosis, and then wait lists for speech therapy and, navigating insurance and all that. We weren't really getting like an understanding of how he created language. So that's when I was really just researching online. And I think one of the biggest things that we found was the meaningful speech account. That really, like, I remember reading a post and just being like, oh my God, that's Jameson. And it was like the most exciting thing in the world, because I think up until that point, we were still working through the diagnosis ourselves, and what that meant and what autism meant. And then to see, like, oh, it's not just Jameson, like, this is something, it's something that, and there's other people that know this. That is really what started everything for us. And so just following their account, reading more into different articles and things they recommended, taking advantage of their courses and other, accounts and their free courses was a huge, huge help. And actually then my husband found Corinne, which was really, really amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so we've been with you for a year now, a little over a year now. And Jamie's just been progressing more and more. And
I think that's part of the reason why I was excited to have you guys on the podcast, is because it's been a little over a year that we've been partnered, and he's moved from stage 1 to, like, really, we'd say, like, a firm, like, stage 3, with he's really starting to experiment with grammar. And so that's pretty quick progress for a kid. And I really, like, that's why I was excited to have you on, is because not just because of, how smart he is, how much he's benefited from it, but you guys, the way you've implemented the techniques, shown up and been open to these ideas, even when they feel really uncomfortable, is so impressive. And I was excited for other speech therapists to hear about, like, what's worked for you. Also, what hasn't worked for you too. Because again, we only have our side. Some SLPs are also parents of GLPs, but for the most part, we can really only see our side. I want to say, I just put in the chat the link to Meaningful Speech. I'm so impressed with what Alexandria and her team have done. Originally partnering with Marge Blanc to really translate all of these ideas into this online platform. And that's where I learned about it too. So I'm eternally grateful to her and her team for making it accessible. I think that's a lot of people's experiences through Meaningful Speech. Okay. So the main topic this evening is special interests. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit and talk about what is a special interest. They have different names. So some people call them like intense interests, intense fascinations. There's also a term that's pretty popular, like in UK research, which is circumscribed interest, and that can be referred to as a CI, special interest as SI. Just so if you notice those out in the literature, that's what they're referring to. So a special interest, that is considered to fall within restricted and repetitive behaviors. So when you guys received his diagnosis, they probably talked about or included in the documentation that he has restricted and repetitive behaviors. Special interests would fall within that category. It's an intense and focused interest in a narrow range of subjects. Some people only have one or two. Some people have a lot of special interests. Tell me about Jameson's.
Jameson loves animals. Mostly lions. Lions are really his go-to animal. But really all animals, ocean animals, dinosaurs, anything that roars really is a good choice for Jameson.
And I find that actually really interesting that a lot of the animals that he really gravitated towards, lion, T-Rex, shark, he thinks that a shark roars. So, but in his mind, all three of those like roar. They were really loud, and that was like at a time too when he wasn't speaking a lot, So the thing that I've found with the animals and the special interests is it's helped like take pressure off of directly talking to him, because we get to use those animals as like Jameson, it's Jameson the shark, Jameson the lion, Jameson, and I think when I understood that really, really helped me to like see all these opportunities when he's playing to do, something with speech or something with modeling, interactions.
I love that. That just tapped into one of my favorite strategies that I think I pushed on you guys early on, which I call proxy modeling. And that's this idea of, can we use something other than something external as a proxy for your kid? So yes, the dinosaur as a representation of him, the lion as an external representation of him. Because if it's you, that can feel too close. The idea of the pressure, you're right. There's a little bit of distance, and then it might feel safer.
That's where great with like our playground play and stuff like that too. We've been able to use the animals to do all the things that he was doing, and he loves that.
It's almost like it gave him kind of a template of, wait, if that brave, powerful animal can do it,
right.
Maybe I can too. I feel like this is a perfect moment to, there's an article that I talked about with you about kind of the benefits of special interests. But first, I do want to go over the chat. People are listing a lot of special interests of their clients. I'm seeing owls, gorillas, Pokemon, dinosaurs with 2 exclamation points, trains, dinosaurs, vacuums, porta potties. That's a new one for me. Ocean animals, cars, Sesame Street, letters. I mean,
Jameson has like a dolphin, so many different kinds of dolphins.
Right, not just dolphin, but Atlantic white-sided.
Pacific white-sided dolphin.
Sorry, I should know that by now. Pacific white-sided. I know. I programmed all the different types of penguins sometime earlier this year. I learned a lot. But listen, they're still rolling in. Car crashes, shapes, pigs, numbers, marble run, garages. I love it.
Marble runs are great.
Yeah. All right, everybody, keep them coming in. I love it. Porta potties cracks me up. Okay, I want to share this paper. So what I'm going to do for those of you who are joining live is I'm going to give you the link right here. All right, so in the chat, we've got that link. The paper is called Specific Interests. That's another way of referring to them. Specific Interests as a Social Boundary and Bridge, a qualitative interview study with autistic individuals. And this was by Marie Lizon et al. So what they did, these are through qualitative interviews with autistic adults. They were looking retrospectively on their life and their relationship with these interests. And they found two emerging themes by analyzing like the corpus of stories and narratives. I just thought this was so powerful, and I saw so many of my clients in this. So I think I am going to read the direct quote because it's just so well written. So start quote, "We found that specific interests served two important social functions. First, the interests provided a way to disconnect from the challenging outside world through a shift in attentional focus of participants. Second, the interests served as a social compass, providing structure and meaning to social situations and helping the participants feel more connected to others. Based on these findings, we propose a conceptual model suggesting that specific interests create the experience of a protective boundary between oneself and others, which helps autistic individuals feel safe during social interactions. Namely, engaging in specific interests not only creates a space where autistic individuals can retreat when they feel overwhelmed, but also provides a framework with delineations in time and space, as well as explicit rules for social interactions, which make them more predictable and regulated." End quote. Thank you for your patience. Whew. But I hear Jameson in that.
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah.
Right?
Um,
Oh, sorry.
oh, no, it's okay. I was just going to say that that's been the whole thing ever since we started coming to see you, has been you've let him decide what we've done. And if there's any pushback, pull back away a little bit and let him do it again and let him come back to us instead of pushing on to him. And that's been the biggest thing that helps him really build that trust.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it helps build a lot of confidence too, like a lot of confidence, when someone else is engaging with you on your special interests, like you can tell he feels happy and comfortable then when he sees somebody, when someone says, oh yeah, this is a cool thing, or even like with his his love for the universal theme song, when
Yes.
someone plays along with it or acknowledges it in any way or says universal, there's this look in his eye like, oh, you're cool, I accept you, and you can see, yeah, he starts to feel comfortable when he can share those type of things with others.
Yeah, it's like this middle ground, this safe meeting place between us. And they mentioned something in that quote about like there's delineations in time and space. I love talking about like spatial temporal stuff because when I think about music, rhythm rhythm is a method of carving out the passage of time. The autistic processing of time can be unpredictable. And so when there's rhythm, like the universal theme song, like 20th Century Fox, and I don't know if anyone in the audience has a GLP who loves intro songs like that, the Netflix knock, or just any of those intro songs, they're very predictable in terms of it starts here, it ends here, and no matter how overwhelming the outside world is or the inside of my body is, I know that that will be the same. That passage of time will be the same, and that feels safe to me. But it's a safe place to join. I think about one of the moments when he like looked at me with that look of like, all right, you can hang, is when he was playing on my piano, dun 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 dun, and I went bum bum.
Yeah.
It was like we're there because I met him inside of the passage of time,
Oh, yeah.
and I added value.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you
Right?
can see those sparks when that happens. You can see it. He looks at you and just gives you that little, oh, okay, that was good. Now that's a thing that we can do all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, and I think we found out too that when even if it seems rigid, right, like it's universal theme song from beginning to end, you got to play the notes right. Even within that, there is room for flexibility because it doesn't have to just be piano. It can be the flute, it can be the guitar, it can be, rhythm, like you're saying, padding it out. So it's interesting that through getting into the special interest, even though it seems rigid because they're not really interested in other stuff, there is space if you play along and like really lean into it to expand that special interest to like encompass more.
Yeah. you're speaking to something I think I brought up a couple times in episode, the idea of container contents.
Mhm.
So when I think about working with a GLP, what I've found most successful, and I always have to say, like, this is clinical anecdotal patterns, haven't done like firm research on it. This idea of, so I like to do this, like hold, this is a podcast. I'm holding up a rectangle shape, and I think about predictable container, novel contents. So that song is a predictable container. The passage of time is the same, the relationships between elements in the passage of time, but the contents of it can be a little bit different each time.
Mhm.
I think something I look back on my early work with autistic kids, and I struck out so often because I was trying to do novel container, novel contents. Everything was new. And I think that made me kind of scary and unpredictable. So like that song is the container, and then within it, yeah, flute or like using a silly voice, or even like playing the octave too. I heard you laugh.
So the Minions, he loves the Minions singing the Universal theme song. And
Mm-hmm.
the Finger Family songs is another one that he really like every single animal, and like he has animal finger family and superhero finger family, and it's all kind of the same thing.
And someone had just said in the
Yeah,
chat, yeah, the Finger Family song, right? Again,
he does
the
that too.
the song is the container, the structure
Mhm.
is the same. I think about like, let's say it's at like a house. The architecture of the house is the same, but you're decorating the rooms a little differently. The house is still there, but the vibe of it inside can change because you're kind of changing the contents. Um, Great. And it's so helpful to see people are adding in the chat about like things that are helpful for them. People are saying music and songs.
Pen in the bed, yeah. Pen in
That
the
was
bed
one
is
I
great.
Those are another one. Yeah.
that was a memorable session that we had. We were out on the playground, and I noticed he was lining up animals on the ground, like in a line, and there were 10 of them. And I was like, all right, let's see. There were 10 in the bed, and the little one said, and at first it was all done, all done. And then he thought about it and he was like, I think he like pulled away one. I was like, okay, now we're in it together. Um,
I'll have to say that too. Like it's like he's done really well, and we're talking about these awesome things he does. But you have also done really, really well at like continuing to offer up those opportunities. Like
mhm,
he's been very resistant, like from the beginning, he was not as into our sessions, as he is now. Now it's something he looks forward to, but for a good amount of time, and even at first, like the first suggestion of something would be all done. I don't want to do it. Like the
mhm.
mere, anything. But now I feel like he's way more open to it because of how much he enjoys our sessions with you.
Um, yeah, I think it's like it's such a balance, right? Before I was gonna share, like it's so much like a dance, where we don't want to push them too far into discomfort, where it's like, I've lost you, we've lost you. And our last session, I did that, right? I went too far. I did too much of a stretch, I did too much of a jump, and it broke the trust. Um, and it is like it's a learning process of figuring out what is that just right stretch that we talk so much about play stretches. Um, an analogy I use a lot is like pizza dough. So I'm from New York, so I've seen a lot of dough getting stretched out. There's probably people who haven't seen it, but when someone is stretching out pizza dough, you kind of have to follow the lead of the dough. If you stretch it too fast and too far, it's going to break. It's this working together of someone who's like skilled at moving it the right way, but you have to follow like what the dough is ready to do next and the direction the dough is ready to go. And sometimes I've stretched too far. And I think a lot of therapists and parents have felt that way too, of like, that didn't work. That didn't work. That just right challenge. Um, I'm seeing some great questions in the chat right now. One of them, actually two that are from Lynn. Thank you so much for asking. She said, does it always require music? What if Play with Dinosaurs doesn't include a song? You guys have any thoughts on doing play stretches without music?
Yeah, I think we do a lot of it without it. Yeah, a lot of it, like he definitely gravitated towards songs, but a lot of our play is recreating scenes from movies or TV shows or, just things we've seen out. Um, So it doesn't always involve music, but just more like role playing, I think, and like getting into whatever story they're trying to tell. And that was a huge part, was when we realized that there was no point at, he wasn't just doing these things for no reason. There was something he was trying to recreate in his mind. There was some, vision he had for his play. And when we did like detective work to try to figure out what that was and then engage with them on it, that's when we really were like, yeah, I feel like it changed our relationship too, that it wasn't us just pondering what was going on, but really trying to figure out what he was trying to accomplish.
Yeah, the recreation of a narrative. Oh, Lynn said that was very helpful. Recreating a narrative. Some people refer to that as like a cognitive gestalt, where it's like the recreation of an episode. I have one young girl I work with. She recreates these tableaus. So it's like it's not the whole episode. She recreates like one scene. It's like an arrangement, and then just like steps back and looks at it. And so it's kind of like this recreation of something I've seen that was meaningful, important, and I want to recreate it in my own life. I think about sometimes it's kind of like fan fiction, where it's like, I love this thing so much that I have to make my own version of it. And it's just like this like simpler version of fanfic. And we look at fan fiction for like adults and we're like, wow, that's so creative, that's so cool. Da, da. And it's like, what if we flip that? Like, what if we look at the play of these kids the same way of like, that's really creative. That's very skilled that you're trying to do this replication. Very often we look at like autistic kids and say like, oh, they're not good at imitating. Look at the things they are good at imitating, and we then jump off from there.
I like
All
how
right.
flexible he is with the imitation too. He doesn't need a lot of times he'll recreate Lion King scenes and use different animals for Timon and Pumbaa and stuff like that. And it gives him a lot of flexibility in his play too. And that was a big surprise at first, because at first sets and stuff was so important to him, and it had to be the right piece.
Yeah.
And
Very rigid about it.
Well, yeah, I think that could also speak to that idea of like cognitive gestalt. It's like the visual, the tactile set. The set is the set. And if one of those is not there or it's different, that might feel like threatening or confusing.
the whole scene was more important than the individual animals that he had. The individual animals he could find a replacement for, but they had to be part of the scene because they have to be there.
Yeah, the totality of it. One might call it the gestalt. Exactly.
Right. Oh yeah, it was the whole thing has to be right.
Yeah. And I feel like there's been a mix too. I think about like there were some sessions, and maybe this is experiences at home too, where like I forgot one of the toys or I couldn't find it.
He always knows what's supposed to be there. Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
And I'm curious if anyone listening right now, if you've had experience with a client where like you couldn't find the letter Q, or like one of the cards was missing, and the distress and the confusion. Immediately, Chelsea was like,
Good with Skull, you said earlier something about the zebra toy. That was that
yes,
day. That was because we couldn't find the zebra, and it was
That was part of the set. That was part of what was expected to be there.
working back for the 30 minutes of our session that day was working back to try to get back to that zebra. But it ended up coming out with some really good progress and some almost like the new language for him when he added another zebra toy. Or it was a different zebra toy, I think. But yeah.
It was incredible. And like I never want to elicit language under like contrived duress. Like I don't want to intentionally stress out a kid or
Oh
like,
yeah.
and but that was a moment where it was like, unfortunately, that zebra piece was missing.
Yeah.
And it led to, I think it was like one of his first true stage 3, which was zebra puzzle. And I felt like the world stopped. I was like, I can't be happy right now. But then
And he's doing that so much now with like explaining the characters to us the other night, telling us toucan with glasses and
Cappuccino ballerina.
okay, we have to describe that. There might be people here who are not chronically online like us. What are you referring to with that?
Yes, my son's discovered a series of cartoon characters that I think are on YouTube. I think it's Italian brain rot. but
Yep.
it's characters that are like an animal and some sort of inanimate object like together. So, and it's in Italian, gibberish kind of Italian. And
Yep.
so that's really difficult to understand, like when he's trying to ask for stuff. But it's things like a cup of cappuccino that is a ballerina, a crocodile that is a fighter jet too. So the other day he was trying to like say all these things to me, and he's saying crocodino bombodino. I'm like, I don't know. That's like I'm trying really hard, but I don't know. But then I had a piece of paper and I started drawing it out, and I started looking stuff up too. But then he started describing it to me: crocodile plane, well, and then
Great.
yeah, toucan glasses, skeleton phone. Like he started really putting those things together in a
Yeah.
way that was like, and us going back and forth on it too was something that I really didn't have. I think that was something we really struggled, like a conversation is something that me and my son have never fully had until I say this year, and it's been pretty much just needs based, up until this point. But now we're really starting to tap into like creative stuff together, and it's really really fun to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think it all started from that, from putting those, putting words together and getting comfortable with that, and then getting confidence in doing that, and then realizing, oh my gosh, they get me. And so I get like, yes, this is working.
Yeah. Like humans, we just want to be seen. Like we want to be understood. It's like this core social drive. And for GLPs, the things that resonate with them can be hard for neurotypical people to recognize and know how to respond. But then we do those little pivots. It's like, what does Marge Blanc call it? Like bingo eye contact, when it's just like ding, the sparkle. It's really cool. Un I think I told you a couple weeks ago when I was like, I'm so sad that I have to talk about Italian brain rot. Um, but I did, for those of you who still don't know what we're talking about, I unfortunately did put a link in the chat for you to learn more. Because I want to back it up.
Lemons into lemonade. This is a
It's,
crazy like child.
I will say that has been a good way recently to get him
it
to
was,
describe things to us and tell us. He's never told us multiple things to get us to
Mhm.
something that he couldn't tell us what it was before. So
it's
it's
worth.
getting him problem solving skills now. So
Yeah.
Yep. And so they say on the website, Italian brain rot is a Gen Z meme trend born from TikTok. It features absurd AI generated characters with names that sound Italian, but are mostly just pure phonetic joy. And it's so interesting because it's like these are mitigations, guys. Like this is stage two on in a form that like makes me feel nauseous, but and it reminds me because I'm looking at like the banana gorilla one right now. All right, we got to get
oh,
the name right. Chimpanzini bananini.
Yeah.
chimpanzee.
They're
It's
fun and they're
it's
fun to say.
catchy.
They're
That's the thing,
catchy
is it's catchy.
work and they're
Some
like
songs that go with it, some musical components. So I get it, guy.
the
It's like
rhythm.
animals. He loves animals.
Yep. And
Get it.
like machine plus animal object, it makes sense. It's very stage two. But I think back to at some point, I think late last year, I always have my whiteboard out. I love
Hmm.
my whiteboard. If you don't write it down, it didn't happen, right? You got to document it. But I drew a picture. I think it was like an ostrich with a lion head. And I was doing kind of like those animal mashups. And there was interest in that because that's very like the combinatory, but Italian brain rot just takes it to a new level.
He has whole pages now on his AAC of animals like the
Yeah.
umbrella tiger, an umbrella bird and a tiger mix,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. It's crazy.
Um, that's a great segue. Let's talk about AAC because I think that the relationship your family has with it might look different from kids who are like non-speaking, minimally speaking. What does that look like for you?
So Jamie doesn't really use it to communicate. He uses it to have his all of his groups together, all of his different things together. So he has all of his zoo animals and stuff like that. But the more that he thinks of and the more different, so he has a whole section full of golden lion, golden shark, golden bat, and stuff like that. So it's just been a way for him to categorize things and a way for us to get him to use the tablet by himself. He's typing more by himself now. He's spelling more words that he didn't know before. So it's really helping him get more independent too.
And I think he likes it a lot that he can type in the words and it'll say the words back to him. Like he enjoys hearing it back, you know? A big thing that we learned too in the beginning, sorry, he's going crazy right now. Echolalia, like him echo, like he loves it when we repeat him. Now he has a device that is repeating what he's saying. So it has mostly been him exploring his special interests and then hearing how it's pronounced or how the device says it. But now he started to program in like sentences, like we were saying, from, you know, clips from the movies that he loves, like Dig Deep from Monsters University, and things like that, which is what he's always been interested in. He's always used like quotes from other places to express himself. And like I had mentioned earlier about like detective work, and I think that a big part of it is like understanding that there's logic. Like even if you don't see there is logic in there. So even if though it is a completely unrelated gestalt or it's a completely unrelated quote, in somehow, in some way, it makes sense to them. And it was really hard to do, you know, at first. But I kind of like just putting myself in his shoes if I'm trying to like, you know, and just observing a lot, just really observing and saying like, oh, he was saying this, and these were the circumstances in which it happened, or this was the thing that he was messing with or touching at that time, and does it happen again? And then I realized there's a correlation. And then as we've continued, it's just gotten easier and easier. But
and sometimes it's weeks or months to find the video that he got the gestalt from before we find out. We're like, oh, that's where that came from now.
Like someone just said, "Shoe fly, don't bother me."
Right.
For to say, basically, our son says, "All done." That was his way to say, "Stop, I'm over it." Whatever, you know, to say, "Look, I don't want to do this anymore." Yeah. So someone else says, "Shoe fly." It's definitely the same. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it's really creative, you can see. And for people, because I talk to people like outside our profession, definitely. But even people like caregivers, teachers too, where they're not connecting necessarily with like what do you mean? Like what do you mean gestalt? What do you mean like the feeling, the vibe, the context? And I'm like, think about like a famous quote from a movie where the words themselves don't it's the feeling behind it. It's the whole scene. But I also talk about the idea of an inside joke. Like you had to be there. An inside joke with a friend, the words are not necessarily referring to what you were looking at, what you're doing. It captures the feeling and the context of that moment together. And it's hard to describe to someone else because you can't put that feeling into their body of what it was like to be there. So like shoe fly don't bother me. There might not be any flies around, but it's the feeling that they witnessed or experienced when they first heard it, or especially if it was from a video, which is where Jamie really succeeds, pulling from videos. Um, I will never forget like his one of favorite mitigations he did was when I think about it all the time when I walked in the door and he looked up at me and he goes, "Oh no, my God." Did not want me to be there. And I was
exclamations.
fantastic. So that's become one of my gestalts now, like, oh no, my God, putting it all together. I think one of the when it comes to AAC, I'm thinking about kind of where it started. I hear from speech therapists, from teachers, from parents about when they start AAC with, I mean, a lot of kids, but with GLPs, I've seen a pattern that in the beginning, there's a lot of like stimming and looping and the same thing over and over again. Right? Think about where did we start? What do we call it now? He, she, bear. He, she, bear, right?
He typed those three words before anything else.
Always with those combinations in that order, right?
And so think about what I think about with a GLP, listeners and parents, you might really like feel this and know this is like the first exposure to something can often create kind of a template for what happens after. So I'm always thinking like, how can we really be strategic about introducing something for the first time? But the first time I brought out an AAC for us to try, I went to the animal page, and because I knew it would catch his interest. But I think I had accidentally like put in the words he and she first. And then he went through and added every single animal in order. And so until this day, he, she, bear, elephant, da, 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 the whole order. And that was where he was for a long time, just going through it, looping through it. Now, like honestly, when we like pull back and think about looping something like that, what's the natural reaction on your side to like hear that over and over again?
Oh, to hear something again and again and
Yeah.
again. Yeah, you would think that a few years of it would numb you. No, it's hard. It's definitely hard. But also too, there are some days where it's nice. It becomes our stim too. Our whole house is saying the same thing and playing along with him or repeating
Yeah.
back to him. So, but it can definitely be difficult, to work through. But and there's like a lot of like I don't know if it's like ingrained or taught or something, but my natural feeling when he started echoing or wanting to repeat was to not repeat. It was like something, I don't know.
Mm.
At some point I had learned that like, oh, if we want to fix this, we should just do the opposite. I'm got to tell him no, like, we're doing this. And it didn't get anywhere. It didn't do anything. When we started embracing it, when we started affirming to him, repeating it back, understanding that helped him to feel confident about what he's saying and that he's saying it the right way, then I started to see more flexibility over time. There's still times where he gets into a loop, but I think now we can kind of break it or redirect it more. So even if he's got to say like baby shark, baby shark, baby shark, baby shark, maybe we can say like, okay, baby shark, what color is baby shark? Or like try to move it somewhere else. We still repeat it, but then immediately after we follow it up with like a redirect
Yeah,
or phrasing it somewhere else. And that can just help kind of break the loop because sometimes it feels like they're just kind of stuck in it too because it feels good, to them. Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, I think that's an important thing that people in our field are negotiating and figuring out, like, where is that line between this feels good, I'm enjoying repeating this over and over again, and is this kid kind of stuck in a motor loop that they might not want to be in? It's a big question that there's need to be a lot more discussions about. It can be hard to know where that line is. I think that, parents can be great experts on that because you have a lot more data and you can kind of see like, okay, what's that tipping point that makes the rest of the day really hard? But just to like rephrase what you said, kind of like once you might sense that it keeps going, what is a gentle way to get in there and kind of lead out of it? I've seen that work for Jamie with exactly just like that subtle language shift, like changing one word seems to help. When there's a play loop, adding in like one little shift with play, like one new object or something like that, that has also helped too.
Yeah. I definitely think just knowing him, just being observant, I know what type of mood he's been in, and he feels it. So I'll throw stuff out there, but if he immediately pushes back, then I just kind of need to be in tune with how he's feeling and also understand that like we can still make progress even if he's not responding the exact same way today. We've seen that it really lays a foundation for later on.
Mhm.
As long as we're introducing it, I think that helps take away some of the anxiety and fear over that new thing. And then it's not a lot of pressure. If we're not doing it, then we're not doing it. And I feel like that flexibility and that reassurance has really been the key to
Yeah.
trying to like, yeah, whether we're going to engage in echoing back and forth and stay in the loop or whether we're going to try to break it and do something else.
Yeah. Um, we had a great question that came up, and it kind of ties into where I wanted to go next naturally, which was, we could talk all day about like this strategy worked, this was successful, we did it. I also want to talk about like what has been weird, what has been hard. Um, so that us on, speech therapists on our side can get important feedback about what it's like for you as kind of the consumer, as the receiver of this information. Have there been any strategies where you're like, I don't like that?
I can't think of anything that I don't really that I wouldn't like, but um, no, not really. There's just been things that have worked really well for Jameson.
I think that it's not that I don't like the strategy, but
Yeah.
it's kind of awkward is what we, like I
Oh,
mentioned before and talked about
Yeah.
before, is modeling language from a different perspective is really hard. Like if you're
Okay.
when you're not used to it. Like that was the first thing that we noticed is I would say the change in pronouns, was something
Okay.
that I think Jameson still struggles with. And so when we would say stuff like
playing the drums now.
playing the drums, trying to distract us. But if I said stuff like what did I say before? Drink your juice. He would repeat back, drink your juice. So then I had to realize, oh, I have to start modeling. I'm drinking my juice. I want to drink my juice. I drink my juice. And it's so awkward to do because it's so unnatural. And just like narrating a lot more. I have seen a huge like impact by us just talking more. When we're narrating what we're doing, we're providing that modeling. Even if it's not directly, we don't have to be talking to him directly all the time and put that pressure on him, but just hearing us say what we're doing out loud or going through stuff and telling the story of what we're doing, I think has really helped. But it's super awkward because I'm an introverted person, quiet. We like to be quiet people, so to constantly be talking, to constantly be narrating, to constantly be thinking about what point of view I'm supposed to be saying it from, it can be hard to do, especially like if we're tired or we're having a bad day or it's like a rough day. It's like extra effort
Yeah.
to talk like that, but it's worth it to us to do that because we've seen how much it has helped him.
Yeah. And so yeah, the idea of doing that first person modeling is one way that it's referred to, because you're kind of speaking as like, what might Jamie say right now? What
Mhm.
might Jamie think right now? If I were to put that into words, how would he say it or express it? It's definitely, it can be a hard shift to make, even on our side. I remember when I was first flipping that and I was like, this is so uncomfortable. Like it made my brain kind of glitch a little bit to do it every time. It's gotten to the point where like now I do it to an annoying degree with like my friends, they're neurotypical kids. I do it with them and I'm like, I don't have to do this right now. It's become more
Yeah.
natural.
I
But I
told
think,
my family I was going to the potty at my birthday dinner the other day. And I
yep,
didn't mean to say it to anybody, but I was just narrating what I was doing.
yep,
It's very
it
weird.
permeates. Yeah, the amount of gestalts I use with like my friends and family, and they're like, what does that mean? What does that mean? Um, the kind of shifting too, I hear you talking about shifting to declarative language. One of the first things when I work with families is I'm like, how many questions do you think you ask your kid? What do you think the ratio is of questions to declaratives? And some people have a sense that they're like, oh, probably too many questions. But for people who aren't sure, I'll say, okay, for the next 5 minutes, I'm just going to observe and I'm going to keep track. And the ratio is really strongly towards questions. We're a question asking culture. And I think it might come from like maybe a place of anxiety too, of like, I don't know how to talk to my kid. So like, oh, is this blue? Are you happy? What is all of those questions, which for an early stage GLP, they're not usually ready for. There's kind of like a common ideas about like that's stage 4 work when they can really analyze. Um, so shifting from questions to more the declarative narrative, it's really helped him, but it's really, really hard.
And I also realized too, like, I have to simplify things. There's a lot of colloquial things that we say, that don't make any sense to a child. So like metaphors or things that we use, like I've realized I have to be very specific. If I'm saying get on up there, he should be getting up somewhere if I expect him to do that, and not just assuming he understands that I mean he needs to get somewhere else, but like being
Mhm.
very, so like making sure I'm not using like, God, it's so hard to explain sometimes too.
Mhm.
But I've noticed that before where I've given him an instruction and I think my instruction is very, straightforward and clear. But then he does something and I realize like, oh no, he took it literally or he misinterpreted a word and now he's got a whole different understanding of it. So I
Mhm.
realize I have to like I'm constantly improving the way that I'm saying stuff too. I might say something one way first and then I realize, oh, that's kind of hard or that's a weird like tense that I'm using. So
Mhm.
let me just follow back up with a simpler way or that I've corrected in my head. Yeah.
Mhm. Trying to think of an example. Oh, one that I say a lot is like, let's rock and roll or let's roll.
Mhm.
And it's like, we're not actually going to roll.
Right.
But to us, it's got like, we know that it's like, it means motion, forward
Mhm.
motion. But
Jameson in the car will say, "Let's ride." If we're at a red light and he doesn't want to go anymore, he'll say, "Let's ride."
well, yeah, I just saw in the chat, let's hit the road, Jack.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're not actually going to go smack the road. Um, but it's interesting, right? It's like these phrases, we use phrases like this all the time that capture a feeling, but there's a shared cultural understanding.
Yeah.
So with the GLP, it's about, okay, what is their personal understanding of it? And once you start to really do the detective work there, you start to realize there's actually similarities to how we use these phrases too. Um, there's a great question. So I think kind of moving into maybe some of like the harder stuff, and maybe the emotions that come up. And someone asked about like, what advice do you have for parents who are struggling to buy in and embracing who their kid is as a GLP?
It's hard. I think that it's something that we talk about and think about a lot.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say it's hard at first. Uh, the thing that got us like communicating the most with Jameson was just repeating everything that he said.
Hmm.
So if he says something to you, just repeat it back to him and let him know that you're starting this. Just you saying these words is communication.
Mhm.
And whether we figure it out or not, like we'll get there and we'll figure it out. We'll do the work and figure it out.
Yeah.
But uh, it's gonna be tough at first, but it will give you a connection with your kid that you didn't have before,
Mhm.
and it'll be really fast. Like when we started to realize that that's how Jameson was communicating with us, it literally felt like a light switch. It felt like he was like almost like a whole different person.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be hard at first, and it might be hard to stick with, but that's it's how your kid is trying to. It's how he's communicating. So we have to meet him there.
I think in the beginning too, we reflected, like, I know I struggled a lot with neurotypical expectation of what, his childhood was going to be like, what our life as a family was going to
Mm-hmm.
be like. And I had to like understand that. And I had to know to, like, we talk about the different stages of it. I needed to get to the point where I understood that no matter what stage he was at, he might not progress. That's okay, because it's not about him becoming somebody else, about him being at any sort of level or ranking. The whole reason we want to do this is we wanted to get closer to our kid. We wanted to be able to understand what he was thinking and what he was feeling, what he was going through. We wanted just some way for him to be able to share with us, what his needs were. And then also too, just for him to be able to share with the world what he needed and to be able to advocate for himself, So yeah, like if the kid only wants you to repeat him because it's more important to foster the confidence and that connection, to lay that groundwork to be able to expand on that language than to keep pressing them to change their answer or to stop
Mm-hmm.
what their interests are, because that repeating of it constantly get hearing that is a special interest to me too. He loves hearing, like he loves that echo. He loves just the same way he loves music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm wondering too for anyone who is listening right now live, if anyone has anything to share about ways that they've explained Gestalt processing, any elements of that that have helped parents make connections or have aha moments, please definitely put those in the chat. And as we round, into our last 10 minutes of this episode, um, anyone who's listening live, please feel free to put any questions that you have for Julie and Tony to ask about their perspective as parents. Um, so let's kind of think about where we might be going next. So kind of think about like where Jameson's language is right now. Where do you anticipate continuing to use special interests? What do you think the next month could look like with his relationships with animals and language?
with doing more homeschooling and stuff, I think it's a way that we can use it for any of our other subjects that we want to do with him. You can add lions and tigers, and you can do math with animals. You can add dinosaurs and stuff like that. We can go on. We can look for dinosaur bones and stuff like that for science and stuff like that to give him our color dinosaur pictures. Stuff like that. We can spread it out, his interest into the other stuff that he has to do.
I like that because, oh, yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say too, and I think that like with the way that his speech is going, just us continuing on our path of engaging in a special interest and using that as a framework, I really think he's getting better and better at communicating what he wants, what he's looking for. What I'm really excited to is that I'm seeing more and more of, like we talked about, I think before, is being able to like tell us a story, like it's always been very like in the moment, right? Like this is what I have right now. But I remember one of the first times we went to see you, we had just gone to the zoo, and when he saw you, he started naming the animals we had seen at the zoo, and it was the first time I had ever seen him recount something from the past to somebody. And I'm seeing stuff like start to happen more and more like that, where it's not just right here right now, but the past, the future, what we want to do, what we could do. Jason doesn't have a shirt. Sorry, hold on one
The
second.
celebrity has arrived.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I talk about a lot, like so much of the language I work on at first is present moment. Like talk about what is exactly right now in your kid's head, right now. I find that to be really hard for adults because we don't live in the present moment. We are harping on the past or anxious about the future. But then you have a kid in front of you who is so tuned into the present moment. It is a big brain shift. Um, that's where I think a lot of like the deep connection can come from through this work is like, oh my God, I have to be so present with my kid right now. It's uncomfortable. You have to kind of block out past and future and be right there. But when you're right there, that's where the really amazing things can happen. But
Today,
it's
a
hard.
really cool thing that I asked him. I was all morning. I was trying to take him out to the playground, and he wasn't really ready to go. So I said, "Do you want to go out to the playground, or do you just want to stay here and watch lava all day?" Because he's been watching that song all, and he and he said, "Just watch lava all day." So it was like those are two of his special interests, and he got to choose between them. And he told me what he wanted right away.
Yeah, answer your question. We do have a great question that I think is super important when we think about, really, I mean, any kid, that a speech therapist is working with, especially an autistic child. Someone asked, how do you guys help with regulation and sensory needs?
Our whole house is for Jameson sensory needs. We have a crash pad and a couch for him to climb on in the living room. His bedroom has a trampoline, and his bed is a trampoline. He has a keyboard he's allowed to play whenever he wants, and we don't really limit screen time because the screens are what have given us so much of his language. He speaks in different languages that we don't know. He really likes turning off the lights right now.
Yeah. I think a big part of
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say a big part of it was finding out what his sensory needs were. Like the first, because everyone's sensory needs are different. Like what is the need that they're trying, what is the feeling they're trying to get? And so making sure, like, he loves crashing, he loves being squished, So like the other day when he was really struggling, right? Remember? And he was like kind of like going crazy and looping, and he wasn't really having a good time, even if he was kind of. Yes, I see. You want to show Corinne? You want to show everybody a dinosaur?
What are your T-Rex?
Oh no.
I
Huh?
am a T-Rex.
I am a stegosaurus.
I am a T-Rex.
I'm a pterodactyl.
I am a T-Rex.
I am a T-Rex too.
Satisfied.
So there's an example, right? There's an example where I was trying to stretch a little bit, and Jamie, you just wanted me to say it back.
Velociraptor.
Velociraptor's coming!
Roar.
Yes, he loves to hear Miss
Roar.
Corinne roar.
Brachiosaurus. Brachiosaurus.
Okay, yeah, Brachiosaurus.
Brachiosaurus, he's so tall.
Roar.
Roar.
Pteranodon. Pteranodon.
Pteranodon.
I'm terrified.
Pteranodon.
Pteranodon.
Roar.
Ah!
Roar.
Sorry. Roar.
That's so scary.
Triceratops.
Triceratops. This is what we're
T-Rex.
seeing. We're
Yes,
seeing
the
live
dinosaurs.
T-Rex.
I know.
T-Rex.
So this is
So, right? So what did that capture? I was trying to do kind of that play stretch, language
Right.
stretch. And he was like, no, 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 no. Say it back. Say it back. And that we were super connected, right? That felt really good. Whereas maybe another time I could have done that little pivot with my little formula. It's a, I'm a, and it would have been totally
Yeah.
fine.
And sometimes he would have picked another one instead of just repeating it, but it was still good for him. He still kept
Yeah.
going and still played right along with it. It was good.
yeah, and it's like I said, like some days it's not always like immediate, reacting that way, but I feel like just the way we keep going, because also too, I would think that a year ago we wouldn't have made it that far.
No.
The way that and I think that's like I forget how far we've come
The
because
first
a
or
year
second
ago,
time you
the
don't
first or second
say
time he would have
T-Rex.
yelled,
Oh, yeah.
and that's a huge thing too is that we've seen so much less anger. I really feel like anger and frustration has gone down so much because he's got more words. He's got someone to, that's a safe person to interact with and do the things that help him. But yeah, like he would have shut that down immediately. And now we've made it, even though we didn't fully like get to a point where he wasn't doing it anymore. You were, we stretched it out so much more. We built on it so much.
Yeah. I think it like comes back to a lot of trust.
Mhm.
Over time, we built up trust that like we're with you, we hear you, and we're not going to go too far.
Yep. And his voice is always heard and
Mhm.
everything he says to us. And even when he doesn't say, when he just lets us know he doesn't want something, then we've always backed off enough to make him comfortable again.
Yeah. It really, really is that dance. And I'm so honored I get to dance with you.
It's the best. It's the best having you too. It really means a lot to us to have somebody who like understands GLP, and not only understands it, but is a safe person for Jameson and something that he looks forward to. He looks forward to speech therapy, even if sometimes it goes sideways during it. It's time for Miss Corinne Day. It's Miss Corinne Day, and it's really cool to see.
It's really, I think the four of us make a pretty good team. Thank you so much for, you guys really show up, you try new things, you do hard things, even when it's exhausting. You guys have so much on your plate. Thank you. You are
Thank you.
like, look at this kid. It's because of all the hard work you've put in. I also want to thank, we had a huge attendance tonight. This might be one of the biggest audiences we've ever had. Thank you to everyone who added their comments and questions into the chat. And a really big thank you to your family for joining. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate it.
And make sure if you join live, please make sure you get credit. Stick around, take that quiz before the end of the day. And once again, if you want to stay connected with me, find me on Instagram at crescendo.communication. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye, everyone.